Michael McMullen.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. In late April, Gary Wilson was at the Crucible playing in the last 16 of the World Snooker Championship. 6 weeks later, here he is at the same stage of Pool's UK Open with ambitions of going even further. Now it's the ultimate test. But Jeremy, if he can get past the world champion, well then surely there would be no limit to what he might achieve this weekend in London.
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. I mean, you got to figure the pressure's on FSR here, even though it seems like no one handles it better, at least the last 18 months. And Gary, I talked to Phil Yates about him a little this morning and finding out more about him. And I think one thing that really, we'll see FSR break off real quick, but I think one thing that really helps Gary in this ball in hand may not hurt to start, but you know, from what I hear, he's a snooker player that is really good at side spin, which not all snooker players play with a lot of side, and that really helps in 9-ball pool. It's really something you do pretty much every shot.
Please.
The sound of a golden break on one of our tables.
I'm just looking around to see who's made it. We'll let you know in a moment.
I think it was Ko Ping Chung.
Yes.
Who has
against Chris Melling.
Starting off today perfect. He's been nothing but perfect after trailing some 6-0 yesterday to Fedor Gorst.
I know Gary Wilson pretty well. I've known him for almost 20 years, and I think most people will look at this match and say he'll go into it thinking he's got nothing to lose and all the pressure's on the other guy. But knowing Gary as I do, he won't see it that way, you know. He sets big ambitions for himself in absolutely everything he does. And he will have come here today feeling that he can pull off the ultimate scalp.
Yeah, in situations like this at the beginning of the week, you may have labeled it kind of getting your feet wet in the 9-ball pool, but, you know, he's a top cueist in snooker, so of course the will to win is there.
And look how quickly he's played in this opening rack. Ball in hand, and in no time at all, he's turned that into a 1-0 lead. So much to ask, of course. Trying to get to 10 first, but he's taken the first step. And while they're racking up again, I think we're going to see that golden break. Ko Ping Chung. Opening rack against Chris Melling. Managed to take a 1-0 lead, even faster than Gary Wilson. Two Ko brothers in action at the moment. Ko Ping, World Masters champion, as Tahir was saying in his introductions there, up against the young German, Moritz Neuhausen.
Yeah, and the Ko brothers on opposite sides of the draw here in this final 16, so you never know.
Gary Wilson is 37 years of age and currently ranked number 15 in the world at snooker, which is the highest he's ever been, having initially turned pro almost 20 years ago on the back of winning the World Under-21 Championship. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz is, of course, the runaway world #1. You see the #2 in brackets after his name there. That's his seeding. Joshua Filler is defending champion, seeded 1. We'll be seeing him a little later against the young Finnish player Riku Rompainen. You may have noticed, actually, as Gary was coming down the steps there, he was giving high fives to some youngsters. They're the final 8 in the Jason Shaw Junior Open event, which is being played to its conclusion today.
Yeah, and you got to believe that, of course, these juniors soaking everything up they can, but Riku Rompainen has got to be in their sights to sweat a little bit of the junior in this final 16.
Crowds building here over the weekend at the Copper Box. This, of course, was an Olympic venue back in 2012, or in Stratford, right next door to the Olympic Stadium, where West Ham United now play. Big excitement in these parts, of course, about West Ham's involvement in the Europa Conference League final in a few days' time.
Really nice break off, and I was curious, of course, you can't get this far without breaking the balls pretty well, but a very nice one there to open from Gary. I'll tell you another thing, of course, we could hear it on the intros, that FSR has certainly gained some fans, right, with what he's done in the pool world the last 18 months. But if Gary gets going, right, I mean, the fans could really, really make a difference in this match. Not so much to affect FSR. He's too much of a professional for that. But to, you know, get the adrenaline going in the right direction for Gary, just in case some big moments come up. And we know they will.
Life could have turned out very differently, you know, for Gary Wilson, because he actually dropped off the snooker tour after 2 years on it and was then doing all kinds of other jobs. He was a taxi driver. He was working in a frozen foods factory. And then eventually he decided to really give snooker one more go. And after a 7-year absence, got back onto the professional tour. He's just steadily improved throughout the decade since. As I said, he's now at his highest ever ranking.
I'll tell you, I don't know if you noticed, but the shot he played from the pink 4 to the 5, very, very crafty, getting in position to make the rack a little easier. Oh my, didn't expect that. And that's the kind of miss, maybe pulling the trigger quickly can get you. You got to figure if he really takes dead aim in there, he doesn't miss that ball.
Really, that's a long way out.
Extension code.
Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, a very deserving world #1. He's had an extraordinary 12 months or so. 31 years of age, from Murcia.
Yeah, no surprise, of course, he's in this final 16, and be surprised if he wasn't. But, you know, UK Open leading up to the inaugural Spanish Open. Pretty sweet to have him here, and never know what kind of, you know, role he can continue on heading into his home country in just a few weeks.
Well, it's going to be an incredible fortnight in Lugo. We've got that first Spanish Open, as you say, an event identical to this, really, in terms of format and prize money and all the rest of it. And then the World Cup of Pool straight off the back of it. Spain defending their title there.
All about speed control here. You can see the 8, no problem. I hit it a little thick. Kind of swerving into the ball with English, so a true tester here in game 2. And very surprising. That's a little nerves usually when you underhit the ball. What happens is with the English, when you underhit it, the ball curves a little early, catches the 8 a little thick to the pocket, and costs you a little cue ball. Yeah, a little kick there on the 9-ball, and that's what happens when you fall behind the ball on the rail. And I'll tell you, if Gary can get this 9-ball down, he can really excuse the big miss on the green 6.
Well, we could have as many as 19 racks in this match. This is only the second of them, but this already feels like potentially a big moment. And Gary Wilson, cool as you like, takes the second rack.
Gary Wilson wins the rack.
Now, Gary Wilson playing in the UK Open for the 2nd year in a row. He was here for the inaugural staging last year, and it's all part of an ever-expanding calendar. We've got that Spanish Open, and then the World Cup of Pool off the back of it at the same venue. The junior event running alongside all that. Then we're in Fulda once again for the European Open. Atlantic City for the US Open, a much longer established event, been around since 1976. We'll have that over the last 6 days of September. The Asian Open follows just over a week after that. And of course, all roads lead to Alexandra Palace and the Mosconi Cup just before Christmas. Europe looking to make it 4 in a row.
No.
2 in a row here
It will be a
for
battle
Gary
between
Wilson,
racks.
and an intriguing start.
The 3rd rack, Gary Wilson to break, leading by 2 racks to 0.
You got to like him going after it too, really unloading on the break shot. Now this is the part of the game that you know, at times the snooker players, as great as they are on the snooker table tactically, the pool table's a little different. And Gary obviously can hold his own, but up against one of the best tactically in the game, and another reason why he's had this run the last 12 or 18 months. We'll see how good he's feeling here. He can go a little more simply, but you know, when you talk about being a big favorite, you can't. The worst thing you can really do is change your game a lot and start to look for more simple things to do rather than taking on, you know, the right shot, you might say. I think he's got to clip the right side of this and run the cue ball 2 rails between the blue 2 and the red 3, trying to drop below the purple. Oh, he hit this way thick. This is a sign of big nerves for FSR here early.
Yeah, there have been a couple of those. Do you feel he's feeling a bit of extra pressure, almost that he's representing pool and trying to fend off the challenge of a snooker player coming in here, and in a sense that people might say, well, doesn't look good for the game if someone can come from another sport and do so well. Now, I think that would be a bit disrespectful to Gary Wilson, but do you think all of that is perhaps adding a bit of pressure?
Possibly. Now, this isn't going to be good, and it's going to serve up a jump cue, which when your nerves are going, the jump cue can kind of get you out of that. Usually you don't put as much pressure on yourself to make it, but you know, I kind of think an unusual kind of pressure maybe. You know, final 16, of course, adds some nerves. The desire to win, of course, is there.
Extension code.
But playing Gary Wilson, another, you know, FSR has been a favorite plenty of times, but against another top cueist from another discipline in our cue sports, just a little different flavor maybe of pressure. Now what Gary needs to do, of course, is settle in. That was no easy shot. Anytime you're close to the ball, cueing can be a little awkward, but you know, I think I kind of label it a little bit like the World Nineball Championships where we saw Sufi. I thought towards the latter stages of that tournament, that put some odd pressure on a few of the players that he was playing. They felt like they were a huge favorite. Well, Sufi showed us otherwise, but all right, very just a containing safety here. He's going to get snookered in the next, but now we played without the shot clock in the preliminary rounds. Now the final 16, of course, that's another added variable. And you're probably going to see Gary come to the bottom cushion, come up at the 1 ball. Is he looking to tie the 2 up? Okay. Pretty smart overall
Foul
here.
shot.
Lengthening the
Ball in
game.
hand.
Even though that was an easy kick to hit, it really didn't offer a ton of safety in return. So not a bad play there from Gary.
Chris Melling levelled at 1-1 against Ko Ping Chung, who had that golden break in the opener. But Ko back in front now at 2-1, and it's 1-1 in the match between Ko Ping Yi and Moritz Neuhausen.
Yeah, and I think you're going to hear from Neuhausen a lot more in the future here. Looking for the 3 foul, maybe playing the safety behind the pink. Not his best. He really wanted to creep the cue ball up onto that pink, not really offering all these kick options. Now, very important hit here, though. A 9-ball pull, 3 consecutive fouls is a loss of game, and that's going to hurt.
Shot. This is your second foul, Gary.
Yeah, having that pointed out to him
Start the clock,
by
please.
referee Desislava Bojalova.
And Gary kind of always looked in that path. There were other paths coming to the left side of the table, 1 or 2 rails at the 1. Now, when you're trying to get the 3rd foul, you obviously need the snooker, but you want the 1 to be around other balls to create other congestion, maybe cut off a rail or 2. That's a much better cue ball there, and he's going to have to do something sweet.
You have made 2 fouls, so if you make a foul again, you'll lose the rack.
We always talk about these snooker players trying their hand at pool. They have to compete with the established 9-ball nous of these top players that only gets built up over many years. we're seeing a classic example of it with the way FSR is approaching this third rack.
Yeah, he really only has, in my opinion, 3 rails to go at this ball. If he can go
code.
1 rail, though, right here to the right long rail with some spin, and you see where FSR has put the 1 near the purple 5. So part of the 1 is cut off now, and that's ideal. It's going to be a very slow speed here. Oh, look at this crafty shot. Good effort.
Foul shot. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz wins the rack.
And with that, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, in unusual circumstances, wins the third rack. He's off the mark. Wilson's lead trimmed to 2-1.
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
Into the weekend at the UK Open in London. They're playing for quarter-final places. Ko Ping Chung has already had a golden break. He leads Chris Melling 3-2. His brother Ko Pin Yi 2-1 down, though, against Moritz Neuhausen. And on the main table, well, it's Gary Wilson leading Francisco Sanchez Ruiz 2-1 after the world number 1 won the third rack there in unusual circumstances, JJ. Explain to us the thinking behind that 3-miss rule.
Francisco Sanchez Ruiz to break.
Yeah, well, that was a 3-foul rule. So first off, any 3 fouls in a row is a loss of game. And the reason for that rule is in 9-ball pools, sometimes we get the balls congested in a manner to where neither player really want to attack. So you get a bit of a stalemate situation. Of course, you can use it in other ways as well, as we saw from FSR. And it's an implemented rule that's been there a long, long time for a very good reason.
Do you think the traps that FSR was setting there for Gary Wilson to force that 3-foul situation, that a more experienced 9-ball player wouldn't have fallen into that?
Well, I think it was the initial foul he took, tying up the 2 intentionally. He had a kick shot on the 1. That's what got things started for FSR down that path. And he's going to test Gary in those situations right there. He's going to make Gary make some good hits and kind of prove otherwise. Now, something that Phil Yates and I talked about yesterday quite often. And again, not to take anything away from FSR, but that friendly blue 2 has come available again and got a tough shot down with awkward cueing.
Both of these players have actually lost a match in this tournament. Sanchez Ruiz coasted past a couple of British players, Bash Maksud and Matthew Wrigley, for the loss of just 2 racks. And then went down to a surprise defeat against the German, Fitim Haradinaj, 9-8. Now in these 9-ball events, the early rounds, it's double elimination, so once you're beaten, you go to the loser's side. It's a longer route, obviously, to get through. So he did have to win a loser's qualifying round match and did that against young Sullivan Clark. And then 2 very strong opponents yesterday, Victor Zielinski and Alex Pagulayan. 10-6 he beat Zielinski, who was in the final of the Scottish Open last weekend. And then the vastly experienced Pagulayan went down 10-4, all taking him to this last 16 stage today.
Yeah, and looking at FSR here in rack number 4, and you know, one thing that I think always serves well for him is in the early rounds he really doesn't become a slow player like a lot of guys do in the preliminary rounds prior to the shot clock. So not a whole lot of change come the weekend, not a whole lot of adversity when it comes to the shot clock. He kind of just gets on with it. He'll take time when needed, but a very flowing player around the table.
Yeah, 30 seconds a shot, 1 extension allowed per rack.
Now our last 2 remaining British players are playing at this round right now, that being Chris Melling, and of course right in front of us here, Gary Wilson. So all the hopes for UK here early on a Saturday morning. Real nice shot there with a little side spin. FSR looking to tie this match. Of course, probably an obvious statement, but I don't think anyone's had more break and runs the last 18 months, and here's another.
Yep, the first we've seen from either player. And with that, from 2-0 down, FSR completes his recovery to 2-all. At the very moment I said that, Ko Ping Chung has just won the 6th rack to go 4-2 up on Chris Melling. It's 2-all now between Ko Ping Yi and Moritz Neuhausen. Really has made huge strides forward. He was knocking on the door really for about the last 5 or 6 years. Wasn't considered to be even in the top bracket of players, let alone being the very best. And he always felt he just needed a bit more confidence in himself, and once he started getting the results, he's just gone on and on and on. And there you can see that is the run I was talking about. Really surprising defeat to Haradinaj. But 2 tough opponents yesterday at opposite ends of their careers, really. Zielinski, one of the rising stars of the European game. And then Pagulayan has been around forever. But beat them both, and here he is now. Taking on Gary Wilson, and he's levelled at 2 each.
A very rare dry break, and a little strange face there from FSR. Curious. Little miss on the 1, not by much. Might see a triple combination, something we don't see a whole lot of in 9-ball pool. It does come up every now and again. As if Gary wants to stay very aggressive here with a 1 into the black 8 into the 3. He decided to play the safety. Now, the difference is you'll see FSR attack this kick shot. Possibility of making the red 3. Don't think he'll put a ton of speed on this, but it won't be hit too lightly. Should just be 1 rail off the top rail. He may gather the 2nd rail.
Extension code.
He's going to get inside the 1. Good speed, though, and that's why the light speed. He's not going to leave anything easy for Gary. Now, Gary, of course, top 20 in the world in snooker, so he recognizes situations, I think, even in 9-ball pool, and maybe has to recognize that's exactly what I was wondering. If he realizes he needs to take some shots on, he needs to realize he's got to do something special to beat FSR.
You mentioned there he's in the top 20 in the world in snooker. His current pool ranking is 268. Now that's having only played in 2 tournaments prior to this. If he was to win this tournament, he'd be in the extraordinary situation of being ranked in the top 20 in the world in both snooker and pool at the same time.
Well, I think, you know, the foundation of the game, again, is knocking the balls in, so that helps with the snooker players, of course. Great cueist, and, you know, the experience of the game is something that, you know, a player like Gary or Jack, who also played this week, they're going to gain quickly just because of how great they are. And, of course, they spent some time trying to learn and pay attention to what the better players are doing. Touchy little shot here, though, going forward. He's got to kind of go by the 9. I don't know if he catches a piece of the green 6, so a lot of things going on here. He may not be able to. Oh, wow, really good. And that's where he needed that side spin we were talking about, a little running spin, you may say, to get onto the purple 5. Important hit here. Might get it 5 rails.
Foul shot. Bow in hand. Start the clock, please.
Very nearly managed to make it. second time around. But now a chance for FSR to lead for the first time in the match.
And ball in hand here on the purple 5 really helps getting on a little bit of a touchy 6 ball. Now we just follow through. Should just follow his ball here, just one rail. Looks like he's going to draw it. Maybe it's a little straighter than I thought. And he's going to draw the cue ball, so a little low right check.
Both of these players were in Glasgow last weekend for the Scottish Open. Much smaller event than this in terms of prestige and prize money and everything like that, but there was a really good field there. Sanchez Ruiz, though, lost to Ralph Souquet in winners qualifying. That put him into losers qualifying, and he was heavily beaten there by Moritz Neuhausen, who's in action here at the moment. Would have gone there hoping to get a lot of matches under his belt and maybe another title. There were world ranking points on offer. Didn't quite happen for him.
Yeah, well, very good quality field, and I'll tell you, I watched some of that event. Looked like a very fun event and a lot of time put in trying to make it as good as possible, and I think that event will grow.
Yeah, won by Jason Shaw in his home city.
Francisco
Sanchez Ruiz was 2-0 down in this match. He now leads for the first time at 3-2. So Gary Wilson, as you can see, also lost a match. Got past Joe Granville. And then Thomas Kaplan, and that was a really impressive result. Experienced Polish player. Then came up against Aloysius Yap of Singapore, who's been to the final of the US Open and the World Cup of Pool. And then was beaten in that. Sent him to the loser's side, where he was one rack away from going out of the tournament altogether. But beat JJ Fall of South Africa. A really impressive win again against Naoki Oi from Japan, who's been around for such a long time and done so well in so many big events. And after that, had every reason to believe he could get past the challenge of Anthony Braben of Cyprus. And won that one by 10 racks to 4. Played really well at times in that match.
Francisco Sanchez Ruiz to break.
Started off this match
leading
flying, went 2-0
2.
up. But now, for the first time, he finds himself behind. FSR with the break in rack 6.
Yeah, and that's 2 1-balls missed in a row on the break. Haven't seen that from FSR. I don't recall it. Maybe the PLP had a couple dry breaks in a row. Maybe that rings a bell, but another opportunity for Gary to get something started. I think the blue 2 does pass the black 8, so a little 2-rail position here. Oh, he killed the cue ball. Interesting, he didn't run the ball there, but of course these players are at the table, so they see it best.
We're always aware at big events like this towards the end of them. Some new viewers are coming to Nineball Pool. Essentially, it's quite simple, understanding the fundamentals of it. So long as you hit the lowest numbered ball remaining on the table first, any pot is legal and keeps you at the table. And then ultimately, it's whoever pots the 9-ball wins the rack. But back in the moment, Wilson looking a bit frustrated there. That flying start is slipping into the memory now, and he's left a simple starter here for FSR.
Yeah, really things couldn't have gone any better for Gary to get time at the table, scratch on the break to start from FSR, and now a couple of dry breaks that Gary didn't capitalize. Certain shots in pool are different, like rolling the ball there. Don't get me wrong, you're a little close to it. That's one thing, but he was some distance away, and certain shots pool players kind of stay away from if they can, or they make certain choices. And That's one maybe with a little more experience he plays a little different way. Now FSR has gotten a little out of line here, a little thin on the purple. It's one shot that's he's very good at, though, killing the ball with a little low right English. Really a pure stroke.
He still looks a touch nervy, you know, perhaps not so much as he did in the early racks, and obviously that will ebb away if and when FSR starts to put a bit of daylight between the players, and that's why it was so important for Wilson to capitalise on the opportunity there. So again, that miss, even at a relatively early stage, could be looking back on as a big moment in this contest.
Yeah, a couple things, of course, with some open opportunities, some mistakes there from Gary. The 3 foul, losing the game there. So, but the good thing is, you know, only 4-2 here. If he can settle in, he's kind of seen it all already here early in this match, and just kind of get a little more relaxed.
So 2 dry breaks in a row. But Gary Wilson did not extract full price for either of them. And so Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has now won 4 in a row. He leads this last 16 clash by 4 racks to 2.
If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone. If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
Gary Wilson did lead 2-0. He now trails Francisco Sanchez Ruiz 4-2. And while one member of snooker's current top 16 is in action out there, another one has joined us in the commentary box. Jack Lazowski, welcome along. What do you make of what Gary's doing here?
Very, very impressive, especially having played there this week. It's not easy, this pool stuff. Coming over from the snooker, you know, there's so many different variables, and the angles, even the pockets now. The pockets are playing much tighter than I ever thought they did, and apparently they've all been tightened up. So yeah, he's he's holding his own here, so it's very, very impressive.
The other thing he's holding is a snooker cue. You used a pool cue during the tournament, so looking at what Gary's doing, having switched to the snooker cue this year, would you think if you play in one of these tournaments in the future you might do the same?
It's a tough one, because I know that the pool cue, it kind of gives you more power, so you can play more shots, but it takes a bit of getting used to, and it throws the white differently with side. So for us snooker players, it's just if you can adapt to it quickly, then it probably is better. But Gary's using his snooker cue, and it's doing him good for now. But I think I spoke to him before. He said long term he's going to probably try and switch to a pool cue and get used to one. But you know, for the short term fix is to just stick to what he knows, and he's doing great with it for now.
Was in control here early on. The 3 foul rule stopped him in his tracks in the 3rd rack, and it's been all FSR since then. Yeah, there you see the different cues he's got with him. The different tips, very apparent. Different styles for pool and snooker.
And Jack, I wanted to ask you something that may have helped Gary here. I was told he's a snooker player that's very comfortable with side spin, right? Maybe plays it a little more than other snooker players, and I think that kind of lends towards playing 9-ball a little easier.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed with the top players this week. They, well, all pool players in general this week, really. They use a lot more side than us, and they seem to hit the shot. And I think the white's not going to get there, but then the side spin will take it off. But they use a lot of cushions, and the side just kind of runs off these cushions and keeps going. I think, wow, he's perfect on the next shot. So I think, yeah, if you can use side, it seems to work. But for the snooker guys, that's something that we have to pick up, and it doesn't come as easy at the start, I guess. But like you said, Gary plays with side quite a lot as it is, apparently, so maybe that's why he's doing so well.
Yeah, I think being a little more comfortable with side spin, I think, really helps. And it's kind of a control thing for a lot of players, right? You're in control of a lot whenever you put a little side on it.
Yeah, I think with the snooker, because the table's a bit bigger, obviously when you use side, it's tougher to be as accurate. So that's, I think, why we snooker players cut down on using side all the time. But with
the smaller balls too.
Yeah. It just, but the throw's different as well. The throw's maybe not as controllable. These tables, there's no nap, is there, on the cloth? So I think that when you put side on the white ball, it's consistently throwing. Whereas with snooker, if you're putting side against the nap or with the nap, against the nap or with the nap, it can throw differently. It's a chance here for Gary then.
Yeah, just when it looked as though it was going to be 5 in a row, Sanchez Ruiz left himself with a bit of work to do on the 8, and that's caused him to miss the pot. And now Wilson really has to take advantage here.
Now, I know you played some pool prior to this event, Jack, and probably on a little friendlier pockets than we saw here this week. Were you impressed by the pockets? What do you have there to say?
The pockets,
That
was the first thing I noticed. The pockets, I thought, I couldn't believe how small they were. I've played pool before in sort of halls and stuff, and when I was out in America, and these pockets are definitely smaller than I've ever seen anyway.
Yeah, the players love it, though. Sorry, Michael.
I was just going to say how quickly things can change. Just a few moments ago, Wilson looked like he was going 5-2 down. Now, here he is, about to break with a chance to level the match. Here's what they're playing for in terms of the prize money here, which is growing all the time in the game. $30,000 for the winner. $15,000 for the runner-up. That was the check that Sanchez Ruiz took here last year after losing the final to Joshua Filler. Even getting this far, $4,000, and then it goes up pretty quickly after that. And Jack, just looking at that, some of the lower ranked snooker players are going to look at sums like that, see what the likes of you and Gary and David Lilly have done in winning matches here this week, and think,
Gary Wilson
I want a bit of that.
Trailing by 4
For sure,
racks to
I
3.
think it's, you know, the pool tour is growing and growing. Matchroom are really doing a great job of that, and it's so global now. So yeah, I think maybe like you said, the lower ranked snooker players will be looking and thinking, God, I fancy a bit of that, but you know, take my word for it, it's not as easy as you think. And it's tough because now for me, I'm just thinking if I had snooker tournaments on, is it possible to combine playing snooker, practicing snooker with quickly adapting to pool? I know I'm on an off season at the moment, so luckily I don't have to play snooker anytime soon, but I think just even with playing this week would have made my snooker just not worse, but just a bit different. It will take a bit of adapting to get back to the angles of the snooker table. So I don't know if it's going to take a really talented player to kind of be switching between pool and snooker tournaments all the time, for sure.
As you mentioned there, you are in off season, and I know you're great mates with Judd Trump, and the two of you often go off on a trip after the World Championship. Did you head off anywhere this year?
I let Judd go to America by himself this year. I think my body can't take it anymore. I'm getting old. I can't, you know, all these partying. I'm not too good with it anymore. So I thought I'd just stay at home and stay in the country and play some pool instead and chill out.
I'm a bit worried about the idea of Judd going off on holiday without you there to rein him in a little bit. Now, meanwhile, back here, Wilson got himself a little bit further and further out of position, and ultimately he's broken down on the 7.
Yeah, I spoke to Gary again the other day as well, and he was saying how he's starting to get more and more frustrated playing pool because he knows now what he's doing when it goes wrong. So you can see he's getting quite angry today because,
Extension
you know,
code.
for me, I was playing shots and I was messing up. I didn't really know the way to play them correctly. Now you can see he's got the hang of it, and you know, he looks like he's bang up for this game. And yeah, that was the funny thing for me when you kind of see him getting angry because he feels like he should be doing better now. I think he believes in himself.
Well, that's what I was saying at the start of the match, that most people will look at this and say, oh, Gary's got nothing to lose here. But we know Gary, don't we? He doesn't see anything that way. He always expects so much of himself in absolutely everything he does. Yeah,
and he was in Scotland last week when he playing in that tournament, so he's come down to London, he's travelling about. He's it's not like he's just on his doorstep, so he fancies himself, I think, to do well.
Yeah, lost his first match in Glasgow to Ralph Souquet, but no disgrace in that. Souquet, one of the all-time greats. And that left him needing to win 4 matches on the loser's side to make the last 16. He did win 1, but then bowed out to John McAllister.
Yeah, a little experience got him there. You'll learn to chip the right side of the 7 there and try and come down table with the cue ball. That way, if you do leave a shot, nothing easy. Now FSR may take a bank at this 7. Well, looks like he's going to play the safety, kicking behind it real softly, keeping the 7 out in the middle of the table. Now snooker, I've watched quite a bit of snooker, and you know, with the balls going on the spots, right, things become very standard on certain shots you play, where I think you'll find with 9-ball pool there is no certain spots for the balls. Once they get broke open, you have to have a ton of experience for all kinds of different shots.
Yeah, and I think that's where us snooker players will get caught out for sure. The tactics to it, like you said, the balls are always in different places. Snooker's quite similar, the similar structure to the frames, whereas pool is always different. And that's maybe one thing I noticed. One of the biggest things was the fact that if you get snookered in pool, it's not as bad as it is in snooker. I thought I had people in trouble, and you know, they'd come off like 2 cushions, 3 cushions, and I come to the table and I would just be banging trouble. Whereas in snooker, you get someone in trouble. Snooker, you know, you think you're going to get a good chance next. With pool, there's more. I don't know. Like I said, the smaller space just seemed to. If you got a good tactical brain, you never really in that much trouble. It's like they kind of create a way out in their mind and spot these shots that I just never ever see.
Friendly flick on the 8 helped Sanchez Ruiz along the way there, and he's now won 5 of the last 6 racks to lead Gary Wilson 5-3 in the last 16 of the UK Open. Now, news of the Ko brothers, both going really well and closing in on a place in the quarterfinals. Ko Pin-Yi, World Masters winner just a few weeks ago. It says 6-2 on the graphic there. I can tell you within the last few moments that's gone 7-2 against Moritz Neuhausen. And Ko Ping-chung is even closer to the winning line. He now has an 8-3 advantage over Chris Melling. And this is a look at that other half of the draw. Kyle Amoroto, another player making the name for himself this week. He takes on American Skylar Woodward, and the best American of all, Shane Van Boning, faces Ekland Kaci, former Mosconi Cup player from Albania. Joshua Filler, the top of the draw there, will be next on the main table against Riku Rompain and the 15-year-old from Finland.
Rack 9.
I think that'll be the first time ever we've used the term clash of the generations, and Josh is the older of the two. Sanchez Ruiz then, leading 5-3.
Yeah, and he's had real trouble making the 1 on the side, which he hadn't had much trouble doing that for, I don't know, dating back to 2021 maybe.
3 times now in his last 4 breaks he's come up dry.
Yeah, and Gary really needs to take advantage here.
Only a few months since he had probably the greatest moment of his snooker life so far. Did mention earlier he was off the tour for 7 years doing other jobs, including being a taxi driver, but not long after he got back on the circuit, got to the final of the China Open. He was then in the final of the British Open some years later, lost both of those, and then finally landed his first ranking title at the Scottish Open in Edinburgh just before Christmas. Big moment along the way was beating Ronnie O'Sullivan for the first time, and went on to the final where he won quite comfortably, really, against Leicester's Joe O'Connor.
Yeah, there's that side spin we were talking about. Really has looked pretty solid. Just a few shots have gotten away from him. Probably has broken the balls better than his opponent, which is pretty impressive. Definitely in striking distance. Should get out here and make it 5-4.
Well, he needed this, didn't he? Passed up a couple of opportunities to stay in touch with Sanchez Ruiz, which you have to feel psychologically is absolutely key to him having a genuine chance of winning this match. And with that break and run, Sorry, not at break and run, picking
Gary
up off the
Wilson wins
dry
the
break
rack.
from Sanchez Ruiz and running it out from there. So Wilson back to only one behind.
Come and get it. Come and get it. Come and get it. If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone. If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
It's only the 15th match of Gary Wilson's
break.
9-ball pool career, and
Trading
yet
by
he's
5
still in with a
racks to
very
4.
realistic chance of beating the world champion. Just one behind now against Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, breaking 5-4 down.
Well, he's definitely been the better of the two breaking the balls. No offensive shot here, so safety coming. How was the feeling of the golden break? What was that, your second break ever?
My second break in a match. Yeah, I think it was all a bit of a blur. I just saw the 9 go in and I thought, wow, it's okay, so that's that done. And then I felt, I don't know, embarrassed or what, because I don't know, I didn't really know what I was doing. But the guy, my opponent, was like, yeah, you played a great shot. Like that's what you're trying to do on the break off. So I thought, wow, nice. So it was brilliant. But yeah, didn't get any more after that. So that was the highlight of, I'd say, of my tournament for sure.
I thought that was interesting, actually. Dan Saul was your opponent there, and he was almost mentoring you through the match. He was reminding you of little rules here and there that you might not have been fully aware of, and almost coaching you through it, which is very unusual to see.
Yeah, he was really, really nice to me, and he actually fouled. He didn't, the object ball didn't hit the cushion on one of his shots, but I didn't know that rule, and he pulled me up and he said that was a foul, ball in hand. So fair play to Dan, lovely guy. And I know I was speaking to him after, he just absolutely loves his pool, so great to have people in the game like that.
Yeah, it was then Mieszko Fortunski who beat you in the next round, but you did win a match on the loser side and almost won the next one as well, just beaten in a hill finish by Adam Stankovic. The big question is, when are we going to see you again? We've got the Spanish Open in a few weeks. Any thoughts of that?
I've got to go China for some snooker, but in the future I'd love to play more tournaments for sure. I think I've kind of got a bit of the bug this week, and I hope to get invited to more. And you guys have got such a good tour kind of all around the world, so it would be amazing to, I mean, we never played snooker in Spain or a cool place like Madrid, so I would have loved to have gone to that, but hey, maybe next time.
I don't think you need invites, Jack. You're more than welcome to turn up to those open events any time. We'd be delighted to have you. Now back here in the last 16 of the UK Open. All the talk about Gary Wilson, of course, crossing the divide and playing pool. Well, Sanchez Ruiz has been on the other side of it because he did play in the Gibraltar Open Snooker World Ranking event 4 years ago, came through qualifying for that and beat Martin O'Donnell, who, as you know, Jack, is a very good player and played pretty well in that match. And that took him through to play Ken Doherty, former world champion. FSR was 3-0 down and got it back to 3-2 before losing the next rack. So he's been on the other side of it, crossing the divide and playing on the professional snooker tour with some accomplishment.
Well, at first glance, Jack, you may not think there's that much to Nineball, but you probably figured out there's a lot more to it this past week.
For sure. There's so many variables, and from the break off to, like tactical positions like this, and it's just all touch and finesse and feel, really. Like you said, side spin. Ooh.
Yeah, really no two shots are the same, it seems. And I'll tell you what, there's a door open here for Gary if he can start to put a few things together. I think FSR is feeling some pressure.
Agreed, and I think obviously he's under pressure today because he's playing the snooker player, and it'll be a bit off-putting for him for sure. It'll be tough to concentrate because he's obviously expected to win, and he's your number one and stuff. So I think he's just got to play his game today. Lovely kid, Francisco. He gave me some coaching the first day I came over, and yeah, he's a really, really cool guy. And like you said, he's won a few games on the snooker Was it in the Gibraltar Open?
Gibraltar, yeah, he beat Martin O'Donnell, but he'd had to win other matches against decent players even to qualify to get to that stage. And I've actually seen footage of him playing snooker, and he knows his way around the table.
Yeah, definitely a really talented guy and great cueist.
Taking a little more time here, maybe just concerned about the cue ball. Maybe just go into the brown 7, maybe. He's going to get up table a little distance away from the purple 5, but should be okay.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier for anyone not familiar with the game. So long as you hit the lowest numbered ball remaining on the table first, any pot is legal and keeps you at the table. So Wilson with the 5-8 combination there. Now he plays the 5 again, pots it, but follows it in with the cue ball. And another moment that could be looked back on at the end as absolutely key. What a chance that was to draw level for the first time since it was 2-2. And he's gifted this one.
Yeah, a little experience may have gotten him there. A lot of your pool players may have played rail first on that shot there, especially from some distance. And FSR, like we talked about at the beginning, he's going to feel pressure as a favorite quite often, right, in these events, but a little different against another great cueist, even though coming from snooker. I think that's the one that's got him a little uneasy.
Yeah, he's definitely expected to win, but it's like, oh, he doesn't want to lose to a snooker player, you know. I guess it's a bit of I don't know, just wants
Sanchez, Ruiz wins the rack.
to win it for you pool guys, I guess. So he's playing with just way more pressure than Gary.
Now, next up on the main table, we're going to see the defending champion Joshua Filler up against the 15-year-old Finn Riku Rompainen. And ahead of that one, Josh has been talking to Abigail.
So the defence of your title is going very well indeed. Sum up how you're feeling ahead of your last 16 match.
Oh, well, I had a nice win against Carlo Biado yesterday. Obviously, I took a lot of confidence from there and had a nice practice session now. I'm feeling great, obviously, but it's going to be a new match with a new opponent, and we will see how the first couple of breaks goes, if the break is working, and then obviously from there you will see who has a better chance to win this game. So, but I'm quite comfortable, quite confident, and we will see.
Yeah, not long to go until you're on those tables down below us. What's your routine ahead of your matches?
Well, most likely watching some of the matches on the table to see how the speed goes and how the break works. But on the other hand, I'm just practicing for myself, getting in stroke, feeling good, listen to nice music, getting in, good shape. Then obviously going out there and have fun.
And if you were to be critical of yourself, super critical of yourself, is there any aspect of your game you feel needs to be better today?
Well, I mean, JJ, for example, in the beginning of today, he said my start in the tournament wasn't good. Made a couple of mistakes, but honestly, the tables are so tight this year. You're going to miss some balls. You got to accept that. But, for example, against Carlo, I only missed one ball. So I think that's good on those conditions. In the end, it's just about winning. It doesn't matter if you miss 10 balls, 20 balls. It's just about winning in the end. I'm just looking forward.
And you're just 25 years of age yourself. Your opponent today, though, is 15. Probably not often that you feel that old out there, right?
Yeah, that's true. But it's nice to see a 15-year-old kid being in the last 16 because he's going to be like a role model for other kids going into the sport, and it's great. But when we're out there in the arena, it's going to be different. I'm just thinking of myself, on my game, and try to win, of course.
Very best of luck.
Thank you.
Well, Josh won it all last year here at the Copper Box, beating Francisco Sanchez Ruiz in the final. The man from Spain's life has changed so much in the intervening 12 months. He's looking for a quarter-final place here. And after rather being gifted the 10th rack, he's too clear at 6-4.
Well, you didn't expect the dry breaks to keep happening, and now after another mistake from Gary, a chance to extend that lead. Great starter here on the yellow one. Looks like a pretty natural 3-rail path around the purple and the blue too.
Ko Pin-Yi looking for his second title in the south of England in the space of a few weeks after his World Masters win at Brentwood. Is on the hill and a rack away from the last 8. 9-2 up now on Moritz Neuhausen. And Ko Ping Chung is also closing in on progress, but a bit closer there, 8-5 against Chris Melling.
Yeah, Ko Ping Yi trailed 2-1 in that match, has reeled off 8 in a row. And I think he's been in form for some time, finally getting that victory there at the Whirlpool Masters. I think really the start of last year's World Cup, he showed us how great a form he is in. He's really never let up, excuse me. Little tricky here. Got an angle going away from the purple 5 a little bit, and not a ton of angle either, so you may see him draw off the 9 here. I'm not so sure how thin he is on the pink, but not only kind of solves a problem with the brown
Extension
7 as
code.
well, drawing off the 9 into an open position in the middle of the table. We'll see how his tip position is. Yeah, I think that's the shot. Keep it simple. You may catch the 7 and the 9 depending. Oh, he let up. The tip position came up a little bit. I thought he would stay away from the side spin on that draw stroke. Straight draw kind of grabs the ball a little bit better than that right, you know, low right English, you might say. Also thought it'd be a little bit of a softer draw as well, but
Foul shot.
rare missed kick from FSR.
Bow in hand.
So another big chance for Wilson. And he really
Started
couldn't ask for them to be placed a great deal better than this. So he looks to get back to only 1 behind. And the other British player remaining, Chris Melling, he's hanging on well. He's won the 14th rack and now trails only 8-6 against Ko Ping Chung.
And as far as Melling, from what I've seen so far, is it really wasn't a ton of mistakes to get behind, so that always puts you in a good spot to come back, just in case you get some opportunity. Gary's cue ball's gotten a little loose at times, but
Prime position restored now, though. And once again, Gary Wilson doing just what he has to do, hanging on here. He's back to
Gary
only
Wilson
1 behind
wins the
again. That's 6-5. I've got to ask you, Jack, we obviously are here to talk primarily about pool, but it's the first time I've seen you since Luca Brissell won the World Snooker Championship. Just so exciting for the game. What did you make of it all?
Thought it was incredible, the way he had never won a game at the Crucible and then manages to get that win against Ricky Walden in the final frame and beats Williams. Did he beat then Ronnie, Chinese lad?
Si Jiahui, yeah,
Si
from
Jiahui.
miles behind.
And then Selby in the final. You know, he couldn't have asked for a tougher match in the final, and the way he won, just absolutely incredible. And I think it's going to be great for snooker across mainland Europe and all around the world, because
Thank you. Rack 12.
you know, he's
Gary
obviously
Wilson to break.
the way he did it was so
Trailing by
impressive.
6
And
racks to 5.
he's a really, really, really talented person and snooker player, and I really enjoyed watching that tournament anyway. I thought it was great for the game.
Back here, Gary Wilson taking on the reigning world pool champion of 2023.
Sorry, got out of his chair, didn't realize the green 6 ball just kind of snuck in at the last moment. Looks like a safety shot coming. Maybe play the 1 back down, kind of use the red 3 as a snooker. He's got some options. He can put the 1 behind the red 3, kind of using the 8 as a snooker as well. And that's where the experience comes in, like figuring out which one's best. May leave a little gap here.
There's always a gap.
And it seems like it. Now, what's so impressive about FSR, of course, is offensive skills, but to do what he's done the last year and a half, he seems to win most of the
Extension
tactical battles one way or another. Of course, his running mate, I think, is one of the best in that area. That being David Al-Kaidi. problem here is the black 8 really cutting off the movement of the cue ball. Tough enough shot as it is. I don't know about snooker, of course it's different, right? But when you don't see a whole lot of future with the cue ball, it seems like the shots become 3 or 4 times harder.
Yeah, when the white ball is kind of like close to the cushion, you can only kind of get your tip to, I don't know, half an inch of the top of the white ball, and it's just, you're always sort of striking down on the white. It makes it much harder to control. Easy to just get a bit of side on it. Did he try and pot the 9 there, you reckon?
I think he took a little chance. I think he saw maybe the 9 kind of kissing off the purple 5, right? A couple different ways to make the 9. Heck of a shot on the 1.
We have our first quarter-finalist, Ko Pin-Yi, the World Masters champion, looking to go back-to-back in the matchroom events here. He's just closed it out at 10-3 against Germany's Moritz Neuhausen.
Yeah, and a great tournament from Neuhausen, and he'll be back. Young man, I think he's only 19 years old.
Ko Pin-Yi will take on either Dimitris Loukatos of Greece or the Italian Francesco Candela later today in the last 8.
And that draw opens up for both those guys. And Candela, a guy, I'll tell you, with confidence, he's very capable. So, dangerous Italian. I think he's got to go for this, really. Maybe tear open the pink. No, he's going to play the safety. Very surprising. Well done.
What do you reckon FSR would change about his, is what I want to know, about his game, his tactics, knowing that obviously Gary's not as experienced a pool player? How is he, what do you think his game plan would have been today?
I don't think he would try to change a whole lot. We talked about that at the opening of the show, and when you're a favorite, you know, in a sense of lack of experience, obviously Gary can cue the ball, he can do things, but you know, sometimes you can get in your own head and kind of like try to make the game too simple.
Okay.
And I think we've all done that before and kind of learned from it. So I don't think FSR, I think he's just feeling some nerves with the situation and a little bit awkward, but I don't think he'll consciously try to change too much. The push out, that's the one that he may go a little more conservative, knowing that Gary doesn't know all the shots.
If it goes close, Jeremy, and we get to something like 8-all, 9-all, which of them do you think is going to be feeling more nervous? Or will it be equal nerves and pressure, but in different ways?
Absolutely different ways. I think they'll definitely have pressure. I think Gary's will be a little bit of an abnormal pressure, maybe, but a very positive one to be in the match. And FSR, you never know. I mean, he's going to feel the heat if it gets something like 8-8. Really nice play here, and he wants to go the jump cue, I think, but feels he can get underneath the purple 5 off of a couple cushions. Easily scratch off this as well.
Wow.
Big arc of the cue ball.
Yeah, it's definitely like a shot that I would have never ever seen that in. I could have looked at the table for an hour. I just didn't know that angle was on, you know. I would have had the old jump cue out and been probably knocking the white off the table.
Well, the angle wasn't on too much, really. He manipulated that with some draw and a little bit of left, maybe.
Is that half the battle for you, Jack, just being able to spot things like that and pick out possible combinations and all the things that the pool players have built up so many years of experience in? Is that a big factor for you to get better at this game, just to have that instinct and develop it and bed it in?
Maybe, yeah. I just think it's just the combination of that, the break off, and then just not being as good with the side and the angles and striking the cue. Or these pool guys seem to hit the white ball all the time so positively. It's like their pullback is, they pull the cue back, it seems to be longer than the snooker players, and just accelerate through it, and I think they need to because the balls are heavier, but it's just something that I just couldn't get the hang of yet, and I think that was maybe one of the biggest things. Maybe the cue ball striking, it was just a bit. I was like decelerating into the white. I wasn't confident because I wasn't sure of how to hit it. I think that's what caught me out the most.
And how did you feel about the jump shots? I watched one of your matches and you were trying a number of jump shots but kept hitting the intervening ball. One of them you sent it over to the other side of the arena with the cue ball. So was that something you found really tough?
The jump shot, so I've never done it, and the first time I played it I got it, and then the second time I played it I got one of them. I thought, oh, I've got this, because I was struggling with everything else, and then my jumping just got worse and worse, and like you said, I was knocking the white ball off the table and stuff, so
I think it's a foul out.
that's not easy either.
Look. Can I have a replay of that?
We're going to
please?
have a replay here, but I think Des will realize the cue ball went to the rail, the blue 2, and then back to the rail, I believe anyways. Kind of impossible for the cue ball to travel that far without getting back to that rail, yeah.
It's a foul.
Foul, no foul.
It's a foul.
No foul. She's got to look at that again. Yeah, she needs
Can
to
we
look
have
at
a
that
look again,
again.
please?
Well, she is going to have another look. I think it's been queries.
Yeah.
So we're going to see it again. Jeremy, talk us through this here in simple terms.
It's quick. He catches the second rail with the cue ball to the blue
Can
and
we
then
have a look
quickly
at the
back
replay
to the
again,
side
please?
rail. And a lot of times just how the balls end up will tell you this, and I don't know if they'll slow it down or not, but again, watch the cue ball off the second rail to the blue 2, back to the rail.
Yeah.
Definitely a good hit.
Yeah,
One
you've got to
more,
make
please.
contact
One more,
with a
please.
rail.
After contact.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't see the reps on the cue. Slow again.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Well, if there was any doubt still remaining, it's been blown away by that look at it and all amicably resolved.
Yeah, and Jack, I know you got a little coaching in there, right, prior to the event.
Yeah.
I was always curious, you know, in a short period of time, how I would kind of help a player that's, you know, already a great cueist and, you know, obviously has a great mind for pool balls, whether they play with them or not. But anything particular that you liked about the coaching or would have done different, maybe more time? Or?
Yeah, I think they had me spend a lot of time on the break off, whereas I would have liked to have just played just positions like this, just clear racks with the balls open, get more of the feel for the table, the angle, the different angles, the different cue, the throw of the side, just stuff like that. I would have liked to have spent more time on that, because as it turned out, I don't think the break off really made that much difference to me, because I was never going to be that good at it. But I kind of did an okay job, and it didn't really dictate my matches. But I wish I would have spent more time just hitting balls and getting the feel for the table and the angles, because that was the thing that really caught me out, the angles and the way you are able to manipulate the white with side in a way that you can't on the snooker table, for sure.
Yeah. Well, the break shot's tough anyways, right? So it's a hard thing to get down in a short period of time. Might see a two-way here on the pink 4 cross side. He's going to go safe. And now this is maybe a little difference to where maybe he would have went for that shot against another player that maybe is more profound with a jump cue or a kick shot. And the way I was thinking about to help a great player in a somewhat short period of time is play scotch doubles with them. Let them see you move the ball from one shot to the next. I thought that would be the best way to get a player like yourself in the most comfortable position prior to the event. It's kind of hard, you know, hear someone say, oh, go 2 rails here, go 1, you know, just let you kind of take it in.
Yeah.
You know, you're already great, right? So it's going to, I think you're going to notice things easily.
Chris Melling has won the 15th rack. Sorry, has lost the 15th rack. Just looking across the arena here, trying to pick out the score. So it's 9-6 now to Ko Ping Chung. Needs one more to join his brother in the quarters.
Yeah, and he's at the table as well with 3 balls remaining. All right, should cross this pink over lightly, maybe. He's going with, well, nice cue ball.
Looks to be all over now. Ko Ping Chung has potted the 9 and defeated Chris Melling by 10 racks to 6.
Foul shot. Bow in hand.
Well, the first jump went well, the second one not so well. But one of our main stories, or at least in my mind, is still brewing, that being the possibility of 2 Ko brothers in the finals here at the UK Open. I know that's happened in snooker. It may have been 80 or 90 years ago. I can't remember.
The Davis brothers.
Yeah, that's right.
Playing the best of about 1,000.
Yeah, the one brother quit so he didn't get beat by his other brother, right? Sounds like my family, to be honest with you.
Ko Ping Chung will now go through to face either Shane Van Boning or Eklund Kachi.
Yeah, and both those players in really good form. I don't know if I've ever seen Kachi really from tournament to tournament look so solid.
Yeah, it's not often he has 2 really good tournaments in a row, but coming in here off the back of getting to the World Masters final. That was not a happy tournament for Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. He went out in the first round in Brentwood. But he's still going strong here. And now 3 racks away from a place in the quarterfinals. He leads Gary Wilson by 2 once more at 7-5. And we can have a look now at Ko Ping Chung. Well, this is Ko Ping Yi first. This was earlier against Moritz Neuhausen. Comfortable win in the end for the World Masters champion, 10-3. And then just a few moments ago, Ko Ping Chung finally shaking off the challenge of Chris Melling to go through the winner by 10 racks to 6.
Then you can take it, but you better get in the zone. If you want to make it, then you can take it, but you better get in the zone.
92 home players started out in the UK Open, including established and experienced names like Chris Melling, Jason Shaw, Imran Majid. You would have got long odds against the last surviving UK player being a snooker professional, but that's the case now. Gary Wilson still has a chance, 7-5 down to Francisco Sanchez Ruiz. And there you can see the wins for the Ko brothers, taking them through to the quarterfinals. The first 2 players into the last 8. Skylar Woodward of the US up next against Kyle Amoroto. And also just about to start, we've got big match between Dimitris Lukatos and Francesco Candela. Big chance for both of them. FSR then has gone 2 clear once again. He breaks.
And some frustration there. And this is 4th dry break of this match, I believe.
That's correct.
Of course, the middles are just like the corners, very tight. We saw the one ball hit both knuckles on the jaw, and now Gary's got a great opportunity. Messy rack, though.
We've been talking about Gary. We've spoken about you as well, Jack. We should mention there was a 3rd member of the World Snooker Tour in the field this week, David Lilly, who did win 1 match, then put up a good account of himself against the very experienced Mario He in the next round, and went over to the loser's side and was only a rack away from making progress there before going down to Andrew Finnegan.
Attacking there, and I was thinking of maybe a 3-foul situation. He could have really hemmed the cue ball up in between the red 3 and the green 6, kind of just bumping the 2 past that little pile. But I like him staying aggressive. And how about Lakutis, right? There were 16 Greek players brought, and that, of course, Lakutis is a very good player, but not the name you would have suspected from the Greek contingent here in the final 16.
There you go. Much bigger names like Kazakis and Economopoulos, they have gone by the wayside. Wow, it's just driven him mad, hasn't it?
Yeah, he's trying to maintain. Okay, what he's looking at here is not a combination, I don't think. Wants to chip the red into the green 6, kind of let the 6 kind of contain the red as a cue ball comes across for the snooker behind the 9. He's left a piece of this, though. Now, depending on how Gary's feeling, he can really take a chance here. Kind of bumping the red away, go into the purple, solve a couple problems at once.
You're spotting a number of opportunities and shots to play here, Jeremy, that Gary clearly hasn't spotted himself. Is that something you can teach someone about, or is it something that can only come through extensive playing over a number of years?
Well, you can try and teach them variations. That's the thing. They all change so quickly from one inch to another. And, you know, it's definitely a bumps and bruises game. I mean, you have to experience it. That's why, of course, the players these days, I think, get along a little quicker with all the information age we're in these days with the internet and whatnot. But you still hard to learn from just watching. Playing the kiss on the 6 here. He needs some good speed on the red 3. It's gonna get away from him. Now the good thing is he didn't open the purple 5 and the brown 7, so he's got a little protection there. Go a long ways to hit this red 3, I'll tell you. If he doesn't, most likely FSR would open that 5 and 7 with ball in hand on the red 3.
Never been one to hide his emotions throughout his snooker career, Gary Wilson. Likewise here.
Extension code.
Well, he may not feel it because of not playing that much 9-ball pool, but he's in striking distance now. I mean, you get to 5 games, your opponent at 7, you can certainly win this match. I'm wondering what he's thinking here. The kick on the 3, not too hard. And that's something y'all don't do a ton of. You do some, right? There's some standard ones, Jack, but don't surrender, ball in hand.
Foul shot. Ball in hand.
The problem is
Start the
FSR will
shot
most
clock,
likely
please.
shoot the 3 and open that problem with the 5-7 while gaining some type of position on the pink 4. What'd you think of the rail first shots, the kick shots this week, Jack?
It's different. The cushions play slightly different, and I don't know. Just these situations confuse me still. To be honest, I don't know what he did there, and yeah, no comment.
Extension code.
No comment for a minute.
Well, he's misjudged that situation, surely, Jeremy.
Yeah, and that's just experience. And the one thing is, you know, I think he feels like that's something always in your bag, is to take an intentional foul, right? But you got to look at it and say, I can hit this kick shot right here.
I mean, I didn't even know you could do that. I know in snooker, if you do an intentional foul, you lose the frame.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna. That's definitely you know, something that comes up, right, when you have the worst of it.
Gary Wilson, whatever happens now, will have people saying to him at the end of the match, oh look, you've had a great run, you've done well, you put it up to FSR. I don't think he's going to want to hear a bit of it. It's not his character, it's not his nature. He'll look back with regrets on this match, and the very choice of what he did at his last visit to the table will be near the top of the list if FSR punishes him for it here. Neither player has been 3 clear at any stage of the contest.
A little shaky there with the 5 to the pocket. Looks like he'll carry into a piece of the 9 here. Don't know if he can get by it without any contact, so got to be mindful there. Soft speed, he's okay.
Another rack that I think we'll look back on and say it's the golfing experience just of playing the game and how to approach it that's been pretty much decisive there. So Francisco Sanchez Ruiz now leads by 3 for the first time. It's 8-5. He needs just 2 more to move into the quarterfinals of the UK Open. Skylar Woodward starting over on the other side of the arena around now against Kyle Amoroto. 3 Americans in the last 16, Jeremy. You didn't have any in the last 16 of your own Open in Atlantic City back in October. Great tonic for the American game.
Yeah, absolutely. Skylar Woodward, my pick. Kind of put a little heat on him there. I think that's good for him, actually, and he's trending in the right direction. Each match he's gotten better. Shane Van Boening, I think, as Carl said, not really talked about a ton this week, which is amazing. And he's in great form like always. And Shane Wolford getting across the line. So I think the Americans have, you know, kind of unfairly at times
Rack 14,
maybe had
Francisco Sanchez
too much
race to
pressure
break.
on them, too much scrutiny.
Leading
you
by
know,
8 racks to 5.
And the players that are out here competing, they're the ones that are going to feel the heat behind all that scrutiny. So good to see them kind of getting in the places they're supposed to be.
It's a different sort of pressure FSR is feeling in this match. I think it's one he just wants to get out of the way and move on. And he's close to doing that now, 8-5.
I'll tell you, another dry break. He did change break positions there, which I think is smart. You can't be stubborn. Now a shot you don't play a lot of it. Snooker, a little kiss shot off the 1 into the brown 7.
You played it like that?
I'd have probably played at a softer speed, probably, keeping the 1 down table. Now he's at the table though, so maybe the softer speed didn't really pocket the kiss shot as easily, but still thinking about that last intentional foul from Gary. And you know, one thing you'll tell him there is why not kick at it? You know, as long as you're not going to open the 5-7 on that kick shot itself, why not? What could you lose?
It's an amazing stat to see. The dry breaks, it's 5-1. It's FSR with the 5. More dry than not.
Trying to make this. Expected a little bit more of a 2-way shot with the 1 ball escaping up table if it did miss that side pocket.
Made his pool debut in the UK Open last year. Got through 1 round and then was sent to the loser side, where he won a couple of matches before going down to Alban Ocean. Was beaten 9-2. It was a similar story when Judd Trump played in the US Open, and the first time he came up against one of the top pool players, in that case Jason Shaw, he was heavily beaten. And we really did think it would probably be the same again for Gary Wilson. He was beaten by Aloysius Yap, okay, but when he then faced Naoki Oi later in the event, he beat him. So it was a bit of a breakthrough moment, beating a player of that stature. There's no bigger scalp in the game these days than Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, and if he can polish off these last few here, he's still got every chance of claiming it. But what's gone wrong here?
Maybe a little frustration there.
He seems to have taken a policy from the start of the match, really, not to take too long over any shot. He's just getting down and playing everything without any great deliberation.
Well, he's been there for every win he's had here at the UK Open, so he knows what he's been going with, what he's been doing. Probably not trying to change a whole lot here in the final 16. Most likely having to play from underneath the 8. Maybe puts a little side here. Yeah, that's what I figured. Just keep it simple. Hopefully off the rail with the cue ball, and that's not the case. Really good crowds here on the weekend. Should get even bigger as the day goes.
Yeah, you've got 3 tables in operation now, and the way it's set up for this final weekend, you can sit yourself there and watch all 3 matches at once. And here's Francisco Sanchez Ruiz making a decisive move towards the line here. He now leads 9-5 after winning 3 racks in a row. Francesco Candela will be playing for Italy in the World Cup of Pool. In a few weeks' time, he's taken the first rack here against Dimitris Loukatos. Now we've been talking about the Jason Shaw Jr. event. There are a lot of these tournaments being organised now alongside the full-scale Matchroom Big Field Open events. And they're down to the last 8 here. Of course, we've seen some of the players doing well in the main draw this week. Walter Laker, the 14-year-old from Sweden, who beat Tyler Steyer. Riku Rompainen, only 15, he'll be on the main table next. Similar kind of age to some of these guys.
Track 15, Francisco Sanchez wrist to break.
And another final of that will be played on
Leading
one
by
of the
9 racks to 5.
main tables later today, so perhaps we'll have a look at that when it comes around this evening. FSR on the hill.
Now finally getting the one on the side, and looks like the cue ball came available. A little off angle on this combination though, so we should see a safety. Looks like he's just going to roll him on the 8. And you know, this is another situation he may play a little bit different safety against, you know, more of an experienced player, but you know, on the heel, why not keep it simple until Gary tells you he's going to do a little better with these kicks, and that'll do. Why is the bank called the double in snooker?
The bank's called the double. A plant is called, what is it?
Combination is a plant, yeah.
Side spin's called English.
Yeah, well, we went through that one already. They put the
Extension
tester on
code.
that one, and we got the answer for why it's called English, or at least what we think is the answer. I still can't figure out why it's called the double.
I suppose it goes twice across the table, maybe. Because if it goes across again, you'd call that a treble, although that would usually only happen by a fluke.
Yeah, but in American, we always, you know, it goes by how many rails you hit, right? So a double bank would catch 2 rails coming back and forth, and a triple and so on.
Personally, I think the term bank is harder to explain. Where does that come from?
Wow.
Yeah, one of the best with the jump cue, especially when the pressure's on.
Yeah, no need to explain the term jump shot, and FSR really demonstrating it there.
Yeah, that's an amazing shot to control the white ball as well. So hard to do.
See, Jack, in 2 or 3 years' time, that's the sort of shot you'll be playing out there.
I'm not sure about that. But yeah, I can definitely appreciate how hard that is and confirm it now. My cue ball would have definitely been off the table there.
Yeah, well, once you do it a few times, a little bit more, you start to realize how good the equipment is. So it's just a little timing. Ooh. That one there. Sorry, Michael.
Well, I was just going to say, he had a few nervy moments at the start of the match. He had another one there, coming towards what looks to be the end of it. Gary Wilson has really added so much to this UK Open. He won 5 matches. He beat some very good players, most notably Thomas Kaplan, and in particular Naoki Oi. And I've no doubt we're going to see him again on the international pool stage. If this is what he can do in only his 3rd tournament, imagine what he might achieve once he's got a bit more experience under his belt. And he still had every chance of winning this match. After 11 racks, he was only one behind at 6-5. Sanchez Ruiz has come at the end with a run of 4 racks in a row. Runner-up in the UK Open in its inaugural staging last year. He's now just 2 wins away from getting to the final again. Farewell then to Gary Wilson. The world champ, though, marches on. He's the winner by 10 racks to 5.